What's going down, brothers? This is Brother Stavanius here, Command Center Wargaming. Fantastic, and today we're going to have a little bit of a chat about weathering, in particular this guy here, which is a Tamiya Weathing stick, which is something I've wanted to show you guys on the channel for a while. I use it a fair bit, and I'll show you that in a second on this Land Raider, and then I'll go through and I'll come back and I'll put it on this this base here. Now, this base here is basically for my close combat Leviathan, and the logic was behind it. There he is. Obviously he's not done yet, but the idea was he was going to sit on there like that. And basically, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a White Scars Contemptor, and he's standing on a Alpha Legion base, like a dreadnought, an Alpha Legion dreadnought. And so what I was thinking is, what I'd really like to do is sort of mimic that contrast, but have my Alpha Legion dreadnought standing on like a White Scars Rhino chassis. And what actually happened there with that Rhino chassis is I was doing my paint scheme and I fell asleep. I stuffed the paint scheme up and I put it in some methylated spirits and I left it there overnight, and my Rhino Forge World resin melted. So that wasn't very nice, but it was kind of my own fault, I suppose. It melted in the pot. However, you know, like, I'd like to think that the resin would have been a little bit more stoic, to be honest. But anyway, it is what it is. So yeah, I'm also going through putting together 15 breaches for Zone Mortalis as well. And they're coming out pretty reasonable as well. So this is all just, you know, sort of work in progress stuff. Yeah, so alright, let's take a look at this weathering stick then. And in another video, I'd like to talk a little bit about weathering and stuff like that. It's about some philosophies and things. But yeah, I'll just stick to the stick for now. Alright, so here we got like a Land Raider I did up quite some time ago. And I'll just show you the effect that we can get from this weathering stick. Alright, so we'll just have a look here. And if I put my Land Raider into the shot, alright, you can see here that if I look on the sides, you can see I have this build-up of dirt on the tracks, right? And that's basically what the weathering stick will do. So it'll go through and you can apply it and have the tracks building up. Now, I don't know what that is there, but whatever. So yeah, that's basically the weathering stick, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through and just put a little bit of that onto this base so you guys can see how it works. Alright, so here we have the base, got my weathering stick. It's very easy, everybody. We just get the weathering stick, you just take it off like so, and then you can see you have this little end here, and that's where the mud is. And then what you could do, you basically go through and you twist this thing here, and this will put more mud in, more mud out. Right, it's very easy. Okay, like that. And you just have to be a little bit careful with this, because it can come on a little bit crazy. I actually didn't want to put any on this. It was just something I was working on right then. So I just thought, look, I wanted to have some kind of prop to show you guys how this works on the channel. So what I'm going to do is, just so I don't sort of wreck the finish of my model up here, I'll probably come in and just come under this area and just apply it down here. So if things do stuff up, it's not too bad. So I can just go through and just dab it on. Right, it kind of works a little bit like lipstick, right? No, I'm serious, it does. Where you go through and you turn this little stick in and out, you know, it's like you put it on there and you paint your lips. Yeah, no, not really. But anyway, so just go through, I'll just put this here. And you can either just go on and just full hammer it on, right? Or you could just put it on gently, or you could scrape it on, you can like dry brush it on. I sort of tend to like to build it up. So just going like this, and the good thing is you can either sort of have it sort of like on the edge. You can either dry brush it over the edges to create like this sort of like edged build up, which is primarily what it's for. All right, you can see there I'm going through and I'm dabbing that. Or you could just cake it on. Now what I'll do is I'll just put a bit over here. It looks like I put my finger there before. This grass turf hasn't dried that much yet. So yeah, the iron scars got smacked up here pretty bad. So we could go through here and just sort of cake that on like that. Right, you can see we've got the mud, you know, a little bit of mud sort of coming on like that. Alright, you can see that little build up there. Like I said, I don't want to go too far with this because I actually don't want it on here. You do like a stippling motion. Right? The trick is with mud and weathering and stuff like that, it's always less is more. And it's always variation as well. Alright, so you see I got a little bit of mud in there. I don't want any mud up here on the Rhino. Because that will basically just overdo it. It's just all about moderation, guys, girls, and people, right? Like, you don't want to go crazy, and I'll do another tutorial about this another time, but the last thing, absolute last thing you want to do when you're doing terrains, I was talking to Yip before about terrains and stuff, when you're doing terrains, when you're doing weathering, stuff like that, the absolute last thing you want to do is just start going crazy with stuff. It's all about, you know, looking at the object, looking at like, you know, you don't just get the bloody, you know, a sponge and then start, you know, smacking it on. You basically, you got to go in there, you got to think about what areas, you know, are like higher up, what areas are being hit by the rain first, you know, how the rust forms when it flows down, what areas basically have formed pools of like corrosion around the side and stuff. Okay, and yeah, and stuff like that, right? You want to think about the specular, so you can see it's actually got a bit of a gloss to it, and that's not by accident. I've actually gone through and like stippled a varnish on over that as well. You can see here that I've got like chips here in this smoke pipe. There's bits of rust around here, but not caked on rust, you know what I mean? Like where it's going crazy, just like a little bits of rust that it looks a bit realistic, right? So yeah, just keep that in mind. You can see here that I've got sort of more sort of etching around the side here, stuff like that. And then this area here, this kind of is going to make sense because, you know, the Dreadnought's going to come up and he's going to stand up on this area and basically, you know, you put a bit of mud like around the base and stuff like that. So it's really, really important that you have variation. What I might do, I might just go through, I might just chuck a little bit more grass down on there just to patch it up a little bit because it looks a little bit more barren. Now this grass, for the most part, I just want a tiny little bit. It'll basically stick in the mud. Right, and then what I'll do is I'll push this down and yeah, see how we just got that little tuft of grass here. Add some variation. What I was going for with this one was a little bit of a kind of like a Chernobyl sort of, you know, I don't know, Ukrainian kind of snow or something, snowy grassland. You know, and that's sort of what I was going for. Have it like work a little bit differently, which is pretty cool. And this grass here is from Warlord Games. It's called Melting Snow, and it's really cool because it's a little bit of grass and snow mixed into it. So, you know, like Russian sort of grasslands and stuff like that. This is kind of the one you want. And I've got to just go through and fix this up before it sort of dries up. So I'll just go through and, yeah, it's alright to have a little bit of grass on there, but I don't actually want all that grass over that. So I'm going to have to go fix this up now because I made a bit of a boo-boo there, but it's all good in the hood. And what I'll probably do, like one thing that I should probably do is get a bit of PVA glue, and I'm just going to go through, I'm just going to drop it around these areas here, just to help the grass sort of settle in a little bit like that as well. Now I've got it, you know, the way I want it. Yeah, and these little trees, so these little trees here, they're little pretty cool little leaves there. They're from Noch, They're basically basing trees, so you got these little basing trees there. Alright, so yeah, so a few tips there. You can probably just get these off eBay or something like that. They're certainly not cheap. I can't remember how I paid for these, how much I paid for these, but they are really good. Alright, so cool. Yeah, so that's it for today, everybody. Do another one tomorrow, but there's a weathering stick, Tamiya Mud weathering stick, Warlord Games, Snowy Grass, and the Noch trees and leaves. Alright, and a few tips, you know, when it comes to weathering and stuff like that. Alright, everybody, I'll catch you in the next video. Brother Stevanius out.